Greetings everybody, it's Jim, and if you are a world builder, today is your day. Because I'm about to show you a supplement that transcends other supplements in the fantasy genre. It doesn't matter what system you use, Dungeons & Dragons, the Fantasy Trip, Pathfinder, doesn't matter. And as you can see, I've got my trusty dusty Harn shirt on today, so you know I'm in the mood to talk about some RPG goodness. So today, I'm going to be talking to you about why you should be using HârnManor from Columbia Games. Well, the main thing about HârnManor is that it keeps characters grounded. You'll hear me talk about this in other videos, keeping their feet on the ground no matter what their power level. And with the detail that this offers, this is the tool that really makes that happen. So let's just get right into it. Now, the first section of HârnManor shouldn't be too surprising. This is about life on a manor. Everybody from the fiefs down below to the nobles up high, this is all about them. It has nothing to do with adventuring. You're not going to find any information about warriors guilds or mage schools. None of that. If you wake up in the morning and you go to work, this is about them. So it covers the manor house here, goes over little things like the knight's fee and such. Manor lands, about crops and livestock, which you will go into much more detail later. You will track these things, and it's pretty easy to do with a big payoff. Then it goes into the manor tenants, such as the skilled and unskilled laborers, and then peasant life, which is a great one. Once you read this section, which goes over, of course, their food and cooking and their games and leisure, but once you get this, you will make any interaction with the lower class a lot more meaty. I mean, you got your even if it's a two-dimensional farmer that we've all met, but you didn't plan on him being met or being talked to by your players. But now you might be able to add one or two bits of information about what life was like there to make it at least a little bit more interactive and interesting. And who knows where that goes. And then the next one is Hallmutes. Now I'm going to go into this much more later on, but this is a name for a lord's manorial court. So basically, this is where the justice is dispensed in all the land. And that really is one of my favorite things. So that's the first section. Now the next section, we really start to have some fun, and this is a village generator. Okay, now there's a number of villages outside of every manor, right? And your players may only step into one or two of them throughout an entire campaign. However, this is such an easy process with such a big payoff that as a world builder, you're going to probably be like, I'm doing them all. Just if anything for your own satisfaction, right? To leave anything, no stone unturned, let's say. Now, basically, when it comes to the villages, this, of course, tracks all the tenants, whether they be serf, freeholder, slave. Talks about the craftsmen in a little bit more detail, yeomen, and then tenant officers. And, of course, it has its own little character sheet here. Basically, this is the census sheet for a village, and it has them occupied here, and here it lists the acres that they have allotted, and again, whether they pay rent or they pay in labor. So that's a pretty cool thing. And of course, it talks about, let's see here, the churches here in a little bit. Here we go. Yeah, it talks about the manor churches that are there as well, and any kind of revenues from that. Now for this next section, we're going to zoom out from the villages and go right to the manors. And here we have the Manor Generator, and this is where we get to play with our acres of land and the livestock and the crops and all that. Now if there were three stats that actually resembled attributes for a manor like a character, this would be it. The land quality, how fertile the land is, the fief index. I find this very interesting. It's the infrastructure of the entire manor. Everything from the barns, the granaries, the roads, the bridges. As long as all that's in working order, that in number is going to reflect that. And then you got the trade index, which of course is simple enough. A manor next to a port is going to have a better trade index than one without. Now, let me show you what I would call the manor character sheet, if you will, but it is actually officially called the manor budget sheet. Okay, now don't get scared off by all these numbers. It's a one and done thing. You fill it out, boom, you're good. And it's not hard. And you got the it shows the number of acres you have, how many of them still need to be cleared, how many of them are cleared, how many of them are allocated to tenants, and so on. And then you got the labor pool of days and how much labor is obligated to the lord of the manor. And of course, next section we're going to be talking about the lord's household, so I'll talk about more of that in detail there. But then we got this fun stuff, okay? Now on the right hand side, let's talk about this first, is the crops and livestock. Of course, this talks about what it's yielding on average, and basically the amount of labor allocated to it and all of that. Then you got the budget form over here, which of course talks about the income, the tenant rents and fees, taxes, even tithing to the church and the labor that's had been hired from outside and the political expenses. All these things may seem like nothing, but they're just great flavor. And you know, as a game master, you never know where it's going to branch off into. Is it going to be a small adventure over here, or a small side story, or is it actually going to lead to something crazy and big? You never know, and that's one of the beauties of this section. Now get ready for some vertigo, because I know we just zoomed out from the villages to the manor, but now we're going to zoom right back in just as fast and drill down all the way to the household itself. So the populated household is pretty simple. You figure out the amount of acres you have for the manor you've created, and it's going to tell you the maximum number of nobles, servants, craftsmen, and so on that you can have. Now, not only do you have to have the space for it there, but you also have to afford it too. So in your manor budget, you're going to have to be able to afford the household cost for a year, depending. Okay, now, what are some of these people that you can get? Well, for the household nobles, obviously the fief holder themselves and the spouse or any offspring they may have, maybe even a bailiff or a steward. And then as far as the servants go, this is where you get your chamberlain, your cook, your gardener. Then you have your craftsmen, such as a mason, a physician, a priest. Might be a few. And then, of course, the household military. You got to have your man-at-arms and a few squires running around. And then, last but not least, is the lord's stable. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean horses, even though it definitely should, right? But it also can mean you can have a lord's kennels for dog kennels and falconry as well. And so those are some nice added choices. Now, the good thing about this that I like is you can't have everything. So that means you're forced to choose some things you may want but can't. Okay, and it also leaves open the chance for some good storytelling, like, why doesn't this manor have their own cook? You can have something like that. Maybe you can come up with a great idea. But that's why this section is pretty cool. Now, the Manor Events are for everybody. I don't care if you're the most structured game master in the world or you are the most loosey-goosey, let's wing it kind of game master. These are for everybody, and they're terrific. Now, you can use them as quick event generators just to figure out some extra plot for your campaign for the day. But the best way to really use these is you figure out an entire year ahead of time. You roll once for every month, and then you randomly find out the day it happens. And this actually, believe it or not, works more for the guy who likes to wing it more than the guy that actually has a structure. Okay, mainly because people who wing it are actually juggling a whole bunch of ideas in their head at once. And if they can see just off the top of their head that there's going to be some kind of major fire or something like that in 3 months that's going to affect the whole village, who knows what will conjure up in his mind because of that. There's really cool stuff here. Now, you know by now that I like to keep my characters grounded no matter what the power level is, right? Well, when asked to give an example of something that will help make that happen, Hallmutes is the answer, without a shadow of a doubt. Now, what's a Hallmute? Well, basically, it's a court of law for the Lord and his manor. All right? So he presides over dozens of cases a year. Not trivial ones, but minor and major ones in that range. And basically, it happens once a month on the 10th. Now, you don't have to role play every monthly session of a Hallmute. However, it's a great way to start a session, and it's definitely something you want to involve the characters in if they're involved in one of these things, right? And it can be anything. It could be arson, as you can see here, arson, battery, of course, murder. But it can also be something lighter, like a Lord's blessing to bless 2 households that wish to merge by marriage or adoption, or somebody wants to give up one of his daughters and betroth them. Basically, it's just, it could be anything. The beauty of this is, again, it just grounds the characters. It provides a framework where everybody, noble and commoner, might meet. And it's just big and cinematic. So definitely, Hallmutes is the way to go. Now we got this beauty of a one-page section called Tenant Fate. Now this goes in line with checking every year about the livestock and the crops of the manor and everything. This goes along the lines of figuring out what happens to each tenant. Okay, now basically what you do is you roll against their skill for what they're being a tenant for, and you see how well they did that year. Now, just imagine they're a farmer, right? And everybody else had great crops. It showed big numbers in the crops. Doesn't mean he did that great. It just means overall it did that great. So he could have still screwed up. So you got to roll individually for each tenant. And that'll give a modifier depending on that. Then you roll on the Tenant Fate table to see if they want to renegotiate a contract, if they're in a economic hardship, or if they want they think they're doing such a good job they're petitioning for more land. Really nice little section there, all in one page. Now this right here, folks, is just icing on the cake. Okay, it's been worth the price of admission for everything I've mentioned thus far, right? Well, here they actually give you 4 full-fledged manors along with this supplement. 4 of them, from 4 different kingdoms, I might add. So you can really appreciate the differences in political structure and how they affect the manors. So here, and they're written in all the same detail as our kingdoms and our cities. And here we have the manor budget already filled out for you, the manor census, keeping track of all the serfs and the freeholders already there for you. And of course, it wouldn't be Columbia Games without a beautiful map. A couple of beautiful maps. There's the Game Master's version, and of course the player's version right here. And everything I just shown you there is one manor. And there's 3 other ones behind that. So the last thing I want to talk to you about today is that HârnManor costs $29.99. And that's beautiful and worth it, but you still don't have to pay that much for it. See, the thing is, Columbia Games has something called HârnQuest. Okay, now it's $19.99 billed quarterly, but it comes with the latest and greatest of Harn, usually $30 worth of stuff. Okay, so you're first in line to get the new stuff. All right, but what else does it do? What's this got to do with HârnManor? Well, when you're a HârnQuest subscriber, you also get 50% off of any other PDF you buy. So that $30 PDF that you were just looking to buy, well, with $20 in HârnQuest, and then only $15 because that's half of HârnManor, now you're paying $35, and it's only $5 more, and you're getting you're getting $30 more worth of stuff from HârnQuest. So if you're going to buy HârnManor anyway, you might as well join HârnQuest. That's my suggestion to you anyway. But anyway, guys, thank you very much. This is definitely my favorite supplement in the Columbia Games makes for any role-playing game, and I'll check you out next video.